Hello, everyone. Today we're going to understand claim eligibility inside Onfinity system. First, we need to define what claim eligibility is meaning. It is the specific criteria or requirements an individual or entity must meet to file a claim and get compensation, reimbursement, or benefits under a policy, agreement, or contract. Essentially, it determines who is permitted to submit a claim and under what conditions a claim will be deemed valid. We have some examples or use cases for this. First, employee eligibility depends on their grade within the organization. Claim eligibility varies according to the employee grade. For an air ticket subclaim, which is a travel claim, the eligibility amounts are different for each level. A trainee-level employee is eligible for 12,000 rupees per trip. An entry-level employee is eligible for 15,000 rupees per trip. A mid-level employee is eligible for 18,000 rupees per trip. A senior-level employee is eligible for 20,000 rupees per trip, and an executive-level employee is eligible for 25,000 rupees per trip. Then for accommodation, on domestic travel, there are different daily allowances. A trainee-level employee gets 1,200 rupees per day. An entry-level employee gets 1,500 rupees per day. A mid-level employee gets 1,800 rupees per day. A senior-level employee gets 2,000 rupees per day. An executive-level employee gets 2,500 rupees per day. Regarding public transport allowance, a fixed amount of 10,000 rupees per month is given to all employees, no matter their grade. To define claim eligibility in the Onfinity system, there are several steps. First, the admin logs into the system. After logging in, they will navigate to the menu, then to the HR management folder. Inside HR management, they will go to the claim management folder. The admin will then open the claim eligibility screen. Next, they need to click on Create New Record and enter the relevant eligibility criteria and claim details. After that, they should add the corresponding eligibility line information. Finally, the admin will save the record. Now we will cover the use case execution. Before you configure claim eligibility, you need to make sure some things are already defined in the system. These prerequisites include grade, position, job, and claim type. These foundational elements are essential for setting up eligibility configurations. Here are the execution steps. The admin logs into the Onfinity system, then navigate to menu, then HR management, then claim management, and finally to claim eligibility. You will create a new eligibility record, enter the required criteria and claim details. Go to the Eligibility line tab and input specific eligibility details. Then, click Save to complete the configuration. This is how claim eligibility is defined and configured within the Onfinity system. Let's now walk through the process within the Onfinity system by looking at a system demonstration. First, for login, this is the login screen, where the admin enters their user ID and password, then clicks Login. Upon successful login, the admin is directed to the home page. On the home page, various widgets are available, which display data after transactions. For now, we will focus on the configuration aspect. Next, for navigation, you will go to the menu. Then, navigate to HR management, then claim management, and then claim eligibility. Now, we are on the claim eligibility screen. In the organization field, you have two options. If the same eligibility applies across all organizations, you will enter a star. But if eligibility is different by organization, you need to specify the organization name in this field. We will now cover defining eligibility criteria. First, you will select the basis for eligibility, which can be the grade, job, or position of employees. Then, enter the start date for the eligibility. If an end date is applicable, you should enter that as well. Next, specify the claim name, and then select the relevant subclaim. For example, the first subclaim could be air ticket. Once all required details are entered, click Save to create the eligibility record. Now, let's understand defining eligibility lines for the air ticket subclaim. We will move to the eligibility lines section, where we define the eligible amount for each employee grade under this subclaim. First, some fields are auto-fetched. The organization and claim name fields are automatically populated based on the parent eligibility configuration. Next, you will enter the eligibility line details. For the start date, you need to enter the effective date for eligibility. The end date is optional. You should add it if the eligibility is time-bound. For the unit of measure, or UOM, choose the relevant UOM from the list of values, or LOV. In this case, you will select Amount, since the eligibility is monetary. Now, regarding the currency, this currency needs to be the base currency of the organization. Here, INR is automatically fetched by the system. If the base currency is different than INR, you can change it, but only 4 currencies are visible by default. If a different currency is required, go to the currency screen and mark the My Currency checkbox for the desired currency. For more details, refer to the currency configuration video. Now we will cover entering grade-specific eligibility. For each grade, you will select the grade name, like trainee or entry level. Then, you enter the fixed amount, for example, 12,000 rupees for a trainee. After that, you click Save. You will repeat this process by creating a new record for the next grade. For example, a trainee is eligible for 12,000 rupees, an entry-level employee for 15,000 rupees, a mid-level employee for 18,000 rupees, a senior-level employee for 20,000 rupees, and an executive-level employee for 25,000 rupees. We will now review eligibility. You should return to the main form view, which is the untoggled view, to verify that all eligibility lines have been saved correctly. You will then see the defined eligibility amounts listed per grade. Now, when employees of different grades submit an air ticket claim, the system will apply the defined eligibility amounts based on their grade. Next, we will add eligibility for the subclaim, Travel Within Country. Now, let's return to the first tab, Claim Eligibility, to configure this subclaim. You will create a new eligibility record. First, click Create New Record. Then, enter the organization. Specify the eligibility criteria. Add the start date and the end date if it is applicable. Set the claim name as Travel. Then, set the subclaim name as Travel Within Country. Once all fields are completed, click Save. You will navigate to the Eligibility Line tab to define the amount allowed per grade. For each grade, you will follow these steps. You will add the start date and the end date if there is one. You need to select the appropriate unit of measure, or UOM. In this case, choose Amount. Then, enter the currency. This defaults to INR, but you can change it if needed. You should specify the grade name. Enter the eligibility amount, for example, 1,200 rupees for a trainee grade. Then, you will save the record. You will repeat this process for each grade. For each subsequent grade, you will create a new record and repeat these steps. An entry-level employee is eligible for 1,500 rupees per day. A mid-level employee is eligible for 1,800 rupees per day. A senior-level employee is eligible for 2,000 rupees per day. An executive-level employee is eligible for 2,500 rupees per day. Now we will cover the final review. You will return to the main, or untoggled, view. You will now see eligibility lines defined for each grade, with amounts in INR. Now, let's configure the public transport subclaim, which gives a fixed amount of 10,000 rupees per month for all employee grades. To create the subclaim record, you will go to the Claim Eligibility tab. Then, click Create New Record. You need to enter the organization, the eligibility criteria as grade, the start date, the claim name as travel, and the subclaim name as public transport. Finally, click Save. The next step is to add eligibility line details. You will navigate to the Eligibility Line tab. For each grade, you will follow these steps. Enter the start date and the end date if applicable. Select UOM as amount. Confirm or change the currency. It defaults to the base currency such as INR. Select the grade name. Enter the amount as 10,000 rupees. Then, click Save. You will repeat this process for each grade, since the eligibility amount remains the same across all grades. For the public transport subclaim, all employee grades are eligible for a standard monthly amount of 10,000 rupees. By repeating the steps above, eligibility can be consistently defined across all relevant grades in the Onfinity system. Now, we will configure eligibility based on position for the work-life balance claim. For this claim, eligibility is defined based on position and applies to all organizations. The first step is to create a new claim eligibility record. You will go to the Claim Eligibility tab. Then, click Create New Record. You will enter these details. For organization, use a star to show that this configuration applies to all organizations. For eligibility criteria, select position. Enter the start date and the end date if it is applicable. The claim name is Work-Life Balance Claim. The subclaim name is Work-Life Balance. Finally, click Save. The next step is to define eligibility in the Eligibility line tab. You will navigate to the Eligibility line tab. You will notice that the position field is now enabled instead of grade, and the organization and claim name are automatically filled. For each eligible position, you will perform these actions. Enter the start date and an end date if it is applicable. Select Unit of Measure, or UOM, as amount. Confirm or change the currency if your base currency is not INR. Select the position. Enter the eligibility amount. Click Save. You will repeat these steps to add eligibility for additional positions. This configuration demonstrates how claim eligibility can be defined based on employee position, applying universally across all organizations. You can follow the same process to configure similar position-based subclaims in the Onfinity system. Here is an important note on eligibility criteria. In the first example for the travel claim, if eligibility is defined based on grade, it means that all employees with the trainee grade will receive the eligible claim amount specified for that grade. Their job or position will not be considered for the claim calculation. Similarly, if eligibility is defined based on position, then all employees holding the same position will receive the defined claim amount. Their grade will not influence eligibility in this case. This ensures that the system determines claim amounts strictly based on the selected eligibility criteria, either grade, position, or job as configured. That concludes our session on how to define and manage claim eligibility in the Onfinity system. Thank you for attending.